more are here. Here, take some of them. Dr. Matanga, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thanks.
Fine,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, this is some literature on
The UN Security Council and the ICC should work with us to enable the elected leadership of Kenya to fulfill their constitutional obligations by urgently considering deferment of the ICC proceedings against the President and Vice President of Kenya in accordance with Article 16 of the Rome Statutes. This will also allow the leadership of Kenya to ensure that the country does not slide back into violence and instability. In our view, this will further give the state parties time and space to place matters that are of concern to Africa on the agenda of the coming Assembly of State Parties and to discuss the approach and role of the ICC dispassionately and calmly. It is critical that we remain within the legal framework of the Rome Statutes. Excellencies, the Assembly decision in May this year also undertook to seek ways to strengthen African mechanisms to deal with the African challenges and problems. Although more needs to be done, we are recording progress in implementing African peace and security architecture and African governance architecture at national and continental levels. We should, however, do more to strengthen the integrity and capacity of our national and continental judicial systems, including the African Court on Human and People's Rights, so that the ICC indeed becomes the court of last instance, as intended in the Rome Statutes, and in pursuit of African people's demand for justice, reconciliation, and respect of their human rights and dignity.
We in Africa have made it emphatically clear that democracy, rule of law, and respect for human rights are imperative for our peace and stability, as well as socio-economic development. Our commitment to these fundamental values is not merely to please our partners. It is born out of our strong conviction, which emanated from our own political history and the desire to find homegrown solutions to the myriad of problems confronting us. One of the far-reaching decisions that we have made in the transformation of the Organization of African Unity to the African Union was part of our effort to promote democracy, rule of law, and respect for human rights. Is our collective resolve in fighting impunity in all its forms and manifestations. In this regard, we have empowered our organization to intervene in the internal affairs of member states in grave circumstances of human rights violation, such as genocide and crimes against humanity.
I think there is a very important resolution that has emerged, very detailed, that indicates very specific issues that we believe are important for us as the continent to voice to the Security Council in particular. There is a letter that is being written by the Kenyan government asking for the matter to be deferred for some time so that we could engage in the meantime with the powers that be globally. I think the AU has felt, let us look at the issue of prosecuting sitting heads of states. And of course, it's not like it's a matter which is unheard of. I think it's a matter that some countries, the laws are there, you cannot prosecute. And I think that's a matter that the AU has raised, to say maybe we should also consider that sitting heads of state should not be prosecuted. It does not mean they will never be prosecuted. They could be prosecuted at the end of their term, whatever. In fact, there was one country that gave an example, I think Zimbabwe in particular, which said their president was prosecuted after he finished his term. So Mugabe was saying, we have in fact been doing it. We had a president who could not be prosecuted whilst he was serving. But once he was out, then the case came back. So those matters were looked at from that point of view.